Hey yo, football fans, it's another great year. Fantasy Football Fiends, grab your beer. Giving you the best draft tips for all your picks. Starts and sits to the waiver wire fix. From mock drafts galore to stats that's hardcore. Triple F does it all, have y'all screaming more. So sit back, relax, let the experts prevail. JT Magnum, Siggy Guns never fail. What's up, fantasy football fans? My name is JT Magnum here along with Siggy Guns. Welcome to week 2 of the Stardom Situm Show. The first week was crazy. It was absolute nuts. It's so hard to predict week 1, and you want to think about last year's stuff. You want to think about how teams have improved this year, and you try to make the best guess you can towards it. A lot of people, even the big guys, were having problems with it and that's another thing. I put the show out on Tuesdays, guys, and there's a reason why I put it out on Tuesdays. I do it a day before Michael Fabiano, Matthew Berry on ESPN. I try to do it a day before them because I don't want people to think that I steal their stuff or I steal their rankings or that we steal their players and everything. Like, we're very similar. I don't want to. If they're very similar, that's because they're just picking who they pick. We got our stuff out first. We put out our material when we do it. That's why we try to do it early, so that way we can say that we're not because we're trying to be better than somebody. I don't want to claim to be better than anybody because we do this for fun. We do this to help you guys and the best way we can because we just love fantasy football. But we do it because we do it early so that way you don't have to deal with people that say things like that or thinking that we're copycats. We want to be original, Anyways. Also, just so you guys know, waivers and sleepers, we do things different this year. Waivers and sleepers are going to be on today, actually, Tuesday. You guys are going to see this episode, and when you see this, you can go to the website, magnumsportsnetwork.com, and you can check out the waivers and sleepers on there. We're going to do it on Tuesdays because I just realized that on Tuesdays is when you usually put in your waiver request to try to get players by Wednesday. Usually that's how a lot of waivers are. Some are on Thursdays, but most fantasy football leagues, you get your players on Wednesday. So we'll put it up for you on the website today, or Tuesday. This is recorded obviously today on Tuesday, so that you guys can see that and you guys can grab your players or vice versa, whatever. Third, we are a partner affiliate of DraftKings, as you see there on the screen. Just make sure you go to DraftKings, sign up, and do our weekly challenge. We didn't have enough players, so we weren't able to actually play. This time I will make a new one. I will put the link in the description. I will do it only 10 players only, and if it fills up, I will create another one and put another link in the description so that you guys can keep filling it up if you guys like. Siggy and I will join each league as we go. You can play against us. It's only... Yeah, it's yeah, exactly. It's only $1.
Points.
Wow, my goodness. It's only $1 to play. So if you guys want to play for higher stakes and you guys want to play for more money, let us know in the comment section and we'll try to accommodate. We'll try to make a bigger game. But it's only, this time I'll do it for like a 10-team tournament. So that way, at least, because we got 13, I think, last time, and we needed 40, and obviously everybody else, didn't join. So let's try to get in there. Let's try to have some fun and battle me and Siggy. Don't you want to battle me and Siggy? I mean, a lot of people always, have stuff to say in the comment section. Well, prove it. Battle us in DraftKings. We like that. I like it. It's fun. But anyways, comment section, guys. It was a little crazy. I wasn't expecting so many views and so many comments. I just have to say that, as a guy that has 2 jobs and a pregnant wife, it's a little hard for me to get to the comment section all the time. I would love to answer every single one of you guys' comments. I tried to get to it, I swear, the best I could this time. But guys, if you put your comments in the comment section, everybody, as a whole, Magnum Starts, we're all family here. So basically, everybody answer each other's questions, do it really nicely, be nice to each other in the comment section, and try to answer each other's questions the best you can. If you ask me and I don't get to it, I apologize. Believe me, I am trying to get to them as much as I can, but there's no way. It was like 200 comments, I think, and it's hard to get to them all, like I said, but I will try my best. Siggy will try his best to get to them as well, but help each other out. The best thing I can tell you is look up the player, look up stats from last year, look how he did against certain teams. Try to do your best to do some research on how players do versus certain defenses and things like that. That'll help you to get your answer the best way I can if I'm not around to answer the question for you. Okay, guys? So with that being said, let's get right into it now. Siggy, who's your starts of the week for quarterback?
I got Marcus Mariota, Matt Ryan, and Eli Manning. And I'm going to talk about Mariota. He's playing Detroit, which you see all the yards that he gave up to Andrew Luck last week. And was it Andrew? It was a Colts, right?
Yeah, Colts and Lions.
There was so many quarterbacks that threw 300 yards that it was hard to keep up with. But Mariota against Detroit, obviously his defense is shoddy. And also, though, Detroit's offense is very good. At least, looked pretty good against the Colts. Could just be two bad defenses. But I do believe Detroit does play very well at home. And I just think that Tennessee, whether they're down or ahead, is going to be throwing often. And this is somebody that now has a weapon in Sharp, Mariota. Obviously still has Delaney Walker in there. I just think as a whole, Tennessee is going to look to bounce back, and perfect opportunity with the defense of Detroit to respond to a pretty weak week one. But then again, Minnesota's defense wound up being pretty good, actually.
Yeah. My starts of the week are Blake Bortles, Eli Manning, and Joe Flacco. And I'll talk about Manning. Manning is playing the Saints. The Saints, they have no defense. I mean, it's just point blank and simple. They just have no defense, and especially on the road, they struggle a lot, even on the road. And Manning with those wide receivers, Sterling Shepard, Victor Cruz looks like he's back. And of course, there's Odell Beckham Jr. And with that many weapons, and the Saints not having any kind of secondary to defend them, I just see Eli Manning. It could be a 300 to 400 yard day, maybe a 350 to 400 yard day for him, maybe 3 touchdowns. He might throw a pick here and there because it's Eli Manning, but all in all, he's still going to get you a lot of yards, a lot of points this week. And like I said, the Saints just can't defend him, and they can't defend really anyone. You saw Derek Carr do it last week. They came back and won, and I like Eli Manning especially this week to dominate. Who's your running back starts of the week?
Running backs, I got Matt Jones, Christine Michael, and Ryan Matthews. I'll talk about Christine Michael. The Seattle offense was struggling against Miami, which Miami has a pretty good defense after week one, it looks like, especially on the road. But Christine Michael was the one that was getting most of the carries, and they are playing the Rams, which obviously somebody pointed out that we can't use Seattle anymore as a defense to put on the starts because we talked about how we don't want to talk about stars. So definitely play everybody else against LA Rams because the Rams are that terrible. At least they looked so terrible Monday night yesterday against your 49ers. And we saw both running backs do very well against the Rams. So I would say both running backs for Seattle do very well. And Christine Michael's obviously somebody that a lot of people probably don't trust, especially since he had all these expectations after they announced that he was a starter. He didn't really do much. I think he had 77 yards, but against the Rams, I'm expecting 20-plus carries and over 100 yards for sure.
My 3 running backs are Justin Forsett, C.J. Anderson, and D'Angelo Williams, and I'll talk about D'Angelo Williams. Playing a tough Bengals defense. I know the Bengals defense is really tough, but D'Angelo Williams is one of those special dudes that no matter who he seems like he's playing against, it doesn't matter where it's a really good defensive front or a bad defensive front. He just shines. The dude is shifty. The dude knows how to hit the holes, and on top of that, he's a good pass catcher out of the backfield. And at 33 years old, what he's doing is phenomenal. I mean, he looks like a little 20-year-old out there on the field, like he's still playing back in his Kansas State days. I mean, I remember him back when he was playing in college. I remember him playing now. I see him as he playing now. He looks like the same exact player to me, just a little older. And it's just phenomenal to watch. And like I said, Cincinnati's defense, yes, they're really good, but at the same time, that offensive line for Pittsburgh blocks very well, especially in the run game. And D'Angelo Williams is just a tough guy to stop. And you can't stack the box. That's another difference. D'Angelo Williams can't see those 8-man fronts, and the reason why he won't see those 8-man fronts, you can't stock the box when you have Antonio Brown in that backfield, and you got now Eli Rodgers and Sammy Coates, who both are burners, both can get deep. Antonio Brown can get deep. It's just there's too many weapons, and they're minus Martavis Bryant and Le'Veon Bell, and they still have too many weapons. And Roethlisberger, everybody knows he's a beast. So I really like D'Angelo Williams this week against Cincinnati. Who's your 3 wide receivers?
Allen Hurns, Tajay Sharp, and Sterling Shepard. I'm going to talk about Sharp. Sharp is the main guy. If there was any questions out of preseason, now we saw in the game that this is Marcus Mariota's favorite target. And I especially expect him to have even better numbers, which he did pretty good. I think it was 7 catches for 77 yards. even better numbers against Detroit. I think Mariota is going to be looking for him often. I think this is somebody that, especially in a PPR league, you're looking at 10 to 11 possible targets for over 100 yards and maybe touchdown here and there. So Sharp against Detroit is very, very good. And especially if you're playing daily fantasy sports, he's still cheap. I believe I picked him up for like 3,600 on DraftKings or something like that. And this is a number one receiver for that price. Is very good.
Yeah, he's a good. There's a lot of good cheap options this year so far, at least until they up them later. Wide receivers. For me, I have Kelvin Benjamin, Travis Benjamin, and Emmanuel Sanders. And I'll talk about Emmanuel Sanders. They're playing the Colts. The Colts are minus their whole pretty much defensive backfield. I don't know what's going on with them, but they were dropping like flies in that Detroit game, and it showed it because Detroit was uttered like dominating them through the air. And on the ground, pass catcher all over the place, but there was just hurt players everywhere for Indianapolis. I don't know what's going on, who they're going to fill the positions in for, or what's going to happen, but all I know is Emmanuel Sanders. Trevor Siemian, he was okay against Carolina, but you got to remember, Carolina's a really good defense, and yeah, they had rookie corners, but they're still a really good defense, and Trevor Siemian can get rid of that ball. He throws a nice touch pass, and I think Emmanuel Sanders, and I think Demaryius Thomas is back as well. If not, Emmanuel Sanders is going to get the bulk of the targets anyways, so you got to start a guy like that when you know he's going to get the bulk of the targets. Who's your tight ends?
Tight ends got Eric Ebron, Dwayne Allen, and Julius Thomas. I'll talk about Allen against Denver. We obviously know Denver's defense is very tough, but it seems like they're cracking the armor, if you will, is blocking tight ends. We did see that Carolina was starting to look more towards Olsen, and he was able to, get open a few times against that Denver defense. And Andrew Luck is somebody that likes to pick apart a team, and this is going to be where you dump off to Allen, early and often, I would think, especially if they're down. They're going to try to move the chains. I see Allen as somebody that, one, could be a red zone threat, and two, get a lot of targets just because they're going to be trying to slowly but surely penetrate that Denver defense.
Yeah, for my tight ends, I have Julius Thomas, Zach Ertz, and Gary Barnidge. And I'll talk about Gary Barnidge. Josh McCown. You switch up RG3, who got hurt, for Josh McCown. Josh McCown targeted Gary Barnidge like crazy last year when he was the quarterback, and Gary Barnidge benefited from that, especially early. And now that Josh McCown's back, Gary Barnidge's stock goes flying up. Last week he had 0 points. I don't even remember him making a catch, if there was any whatsoever. But this week he went from literally a 0 of last week to being on my start list because of that. And I just, especially against Baltimore doesn't give, their defense played against the Bills last week. Bills don't really use a tight end that much. I think Clay had maybe a couple catches last week against the Ravens, but still, Gary Barnidge is a different tight end. He's more athletic, more tall. They're going to use him more tall. Listen to me, can't even speak English, but he's taller, and they'll use him in the red zone, and that's where I like him to be able to score some touchdowns, maybe a couple this week. As Josh McCown can move the ball. That dude at a stretch last year threw for over 350 yards twice and 400 yards in 3 consecutive weeks. That dude, if there's anybody that can throw the ball a lot, it'd be Josh McCown. He's not scared to fling it. So we'll see this week.
You might want to check, though, on Ertz, though. I think he got hurt. I think he might be out.
If he's hurt, there's always, check the website. I will plug in the rankings there, and you'll see stuff like that. But like I said, this is recorded Tuesday, so we don't know who's starting, if he's going to be able to play or not. And I know some injury things, but I don't know everything because the injury reports aren't released yet, and nobody, people aren't even listed as questionable or probable. There's no more such thing as probable, but people aren't even listed as questionable yet to be able to know who's going to play or not. The only thing I do know is like the players that are out for the year, like Keenan Allen and like RG3. He's gone for at least 8 games for now. We'll see what happens with that. But if Zach Ertz is hurt, I'll plug it in later. I'll put it in the comment section for you guys. Who's your defenses?
Defense, I got Minnesota, New England, and Baltimore. So obviously Minnesota against Green Bay is going to have everybody like, whoa, he's crazy. Green Bay, I don't know what it's been. Everybody thought, it's because Jordy Nelson was out, but Aaron Rodgers has not looked good. For some reason, for a better half of maybe the last 10 games he's played. And even though they won, even though he grinded out against Minnesota's defense at home, man, this is a team that's always being prepared for an Aaron Rodgers. If he's still struggling, I don't see any way that he's going to do any better against this defense. So Minnesota, obviously, they scored a touchdown against Mariota. Mariota is a team, Tennessee, that has been deciding that they want to throw everything around, and even he couldn't do anything against Minnesota. And I just don't, even with the name Aaron Rodgers, with all its lure, I don't know if he could do anything against his defense. And if they were that good against Mariota, I'm not saying Mariota is anywhere near what Aaron Rodgers is or what Aaron Rodgers has done, but Aaron Rodgers has just not played well, and until he proves otherwise, and even Jordy Nelson, even though he got the touchdown, he really didn't do that good either. Without that touchdown, he might have had 0 points, I think. Minnesota's defense, I think, is legit, and if they got better play, if they were able to do good with Hill and keep that defense fresh, imagine with Bradford. I think Bradford's an upgrade for sure, even though I wouldn't necessarily agree with the first-round pick they gave up, but Minnesota eventually is going to go to him, and I think the defense is going to be more fresher. So if they were that good against Tennessee, I think they're going to be just as good as Green Bay, especially at home.
Yeah, for my defenses, I have Miami, Los Angeles, and Philadelphia. And we'll talk about the Dolphins. The Dolphins were surprisingly tough against that Seattle Seahawks team in Seattle. They should have won the game. If there were a Kenny Stills drop away from winning that game, he wide open by 20 yards, he drops a touchdown pass, basically just in his hands, and that's the game pretty much for you at the end. At the end, they finally relinquish a touchdown to Doug Baldwin, but that defense played tough. They were in Russell Wilson's grill almost the whole game. At one point, they hurt him, and Ndamukong Suh accidentally stepped on his ankle, and Russell Wilson has a sprained ankle now. And he was pretty much immobile the whole rest of the game, and the defensive front was just dominating. But they just couldn't hold on, and they just couldn't score. They couldn't hold on to beat Seattle. I think Seattle blocked a field goal too at one point at the end, and that's what pretty much gave them the chance to be able to win too at the end. But Miami's defense is tough, and I know Arizona's defense was tough, and New England played them. But against New England, Miami always plays New England pretty tough, and there's no Brady. It's still no Brady. Jimmy Garoppolo may have had a good first game, and I got to give Bill Belichick credit. That New England team was prepared. Going to Arizona and to beat the Cardinals like that, it was phenomenal. But, now, it's the second game. We'll see how Jimmy Garoppolo does against another defensive front that can just attack, and we'll see how it goes. But I think Miami gets the better of New England this week. All right, for the sits now, I will start off. The quarterbacks, my quarterback sits of the week are Tyrod Taylor, Andrew Luck, and Russell Wilson. And I'll talk about Russell Wilson. The reason why I'm sitting him this week against the Rams is because the Rams always play Seattle tough. And this is the first game in LA in years. They're finally back. They're going to be hyped that they're at home. That defense is going to be mad that the 49ers dominated them this week. That offensive line, they had no sacks, no pressure. I don't even think they had a pressure in the game, let alone anything else, the Rams defense. And they've always played Seattle tough. They beat Seattle last year, I think twice, if not once. And I know they beat him the very first game. But anyways, they always give Russell Wilson trouble. And Russell Wilson, we don't know how mobile he is. That sprained ankle is going to be bothering him. We don't know how exactly, his scrambling ability. He lives off of that. And playing against this Rams defensive front, I think he's going to struggle. I don't see him as having a great game this week, and at least not running the ball, and that's where he makes a lot of points fantasy wise. I don't see him doing well this week against that Rams front. Who's your quarterback sits?
Jimmy Garoppolo, you already hit up on that. Ryan Fitzpatrick and Aaron Rodgers. I already talked about Rodgers, so I'll go ahead and talk about Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's playing the Bills. And the Bills' defense, for some reason, maybe it's Rex Ryan, but they always seem to give Fitzpatrick throughout his career trouble. So, whenever he was playing against the Jets, and obviously now that he's playing against the Bills, the Fitzpatrick, he just looks rusty. I don't know what it was. Decker got a touchdown, sure. Marshall couldn't get anything going. And it wasn't like they weren't moving the ball. They were definitely moving it. It's just I don't know if it's just him not being ready. Obviously he had a late spring or training camp, and maybe it's just timing is off. But I know Cincinnati. I know somebody put in the comments Cincinnati's defenses, was great. Third last year and all that, and it was carrying over. But that wasn't even the excuse, I think. I mean, obviously the Jets could have won that game. They probably should. Then again, a whole handful of teams out there should have won the games, but a blocked field goal and the missed extra point is definitely not going to hurt your cause when you're losing by 1 point. But Fitzpatrick, for some reason, though, was off. And, we can say that it might have been Cincinnati's defense, but I still think it's more timing issue with Fitzpatrick for being out. so long and out of shape it looked like. He just seemed winded already. So Fitzpatrick, if you have him and you're relying on him throwing 30 touchdowns or whatever as a sleeper pick, it doesn't look like he's in shape yet.
Interesting. Cincinnati is hard to they're hard to chew on because they were missing some guys. On top of that, a couple guys suspended, or one guy, I think it was Burfict that's suspended. But like they have guys that they plugged in here and there. They just have. It's one of those teams that they were deep. They're deep on their bench. They go like 3 deep on their bench, basically almost every position on defense. So they're able to plug guys in and just play well together. But it's also the team that you're facing.
That was huge. I mean, obviously that's something that, no matter who the quarterback was, it was obviously the kicker at that point. But yeah, that block kick was huge. After that happened, I thought for sure that was going to cost him. Then the extra point. Oh man, that extra point was.
That's the deciding factors in game, like that decides games.
That's overtime right there. But I mean, obviously, the games could have been completely different. Like I said, Fitzpatrick decided to do. I don't even know what that play was before they kicked the field goal to go up 22-20. It's just something that he would have ran himself last year. You know what I mean? To get that first down, and he decided to do a dump off to what's his name? Not Forte, the other guy, Powell. And this Fitzpatrick last year, he would have ran that in himself. But
yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. So my running back sits of the week are Carlos Hyde at Carolina, Todd Gurley versus Seattle, and Eddie Lacy at Minnesota. And I'll talk about Gurley. You saw the 49ers stop him this week. It's not going to get any easier playing Seattle. I don't care if you're at home against that Seattle front. It's going to be hard to run. And they're going to also stack the box, daring Case Keenum to throw, who is named the starter again. I already saw that on NFL.com. They're not going to put in Sean Mannion or, of course, Jared Goff. They're going to still go with Case Keenum. So they're going to stack the box. Teams are going to continue to give him 8-9-man fronts if they have to, and they're going to dare Case Keenum to beat him. And with the LOB back there, they already pretty much can stop the run. So I don't see Gurley doing anything this week against Seattle. If you have him on your team, I wouldn't even remotely start him against that Seattle defense. Arian Foster was able to catch a ball last week for like 50 yards, and that was pretty much all the bulk of his yards or the bulk of his stuff last week. He didn't do much against Seattle whatsoever. So I just don't see it happening for Todd Gurley this week.
No way, I don't either. I have my 3 sits as Eddie Lacy, Frank Gore, and Gurley also. And I'm going to go and talk about Gore. He's just looking really old already. And it seems like even though he did get the majority of the carries, Indianapolis needs to start looking elsewhere, in my opinion. And if obviously Andrew Luck is somebody that's going to throw for 400 yards a game anyway, so it's not like they really rely on him. But this is somebody that's on the downhill for sure, and against Denver's defense, not even worth trying. Everybody picked him up as a flyer. I thought the same thing in my fantasy leagues. Well, at least it's somebody that's going to get majority of carries, as a lone back. But it looks like, Indianapolis needs to really address the situation eventually.
Yeah, for my wide receiver sits, I have T.Y. Hilton, Mike Evans, and Dez Bryant. And I'll talk about, those are some big names. I'll talk about Mike Evans. And the reason why I have him as a sit this week is Patrick Peterson. He's going to be shadowing him all day. And Patrick Peterson may not be the shutdown corner, not a complete shutdown corner, but he will be all over Mike Evans. He will be all over him all game long. It's not going to be one of those things like Josh Norman this week wasn't able to cover Antonio Brown because they didn't even put him on him. Patrick Peterson always takes the number 1 receiver. He shadows him all game long. Mike Evans obviously is the number 1 receiver on Tampa Bay, and Patrick Peterson will be all over him. A lot of times, people don't even throw towards Patrick Peterson throughout the whole game. They've been picking on the rookie corner for the Cardinals. They've been picking on the other corners that they have because they are banged up in the secondary. And I don't know who the other wide receivers are for Tampa, but you might want to start them because Mike Evans is going to have a long day with Patrick Peterson all over him all game. Who do you have?
My 3 sits at wide receivers: Sammy Watkins, Jordy Nelson, and Terrell Pryor. Now I'm going to talk about Watkins because obviously everybody's going to look at this and be like, whoa, A.J. Green destroyed Revis, so Watkins would be the do the same. Obviously, if we all saw, which me as a Jets fan, I saw it also, Revis definitely lost a step. He's no longer Revis Island anymore. Now it's Revis country. I mean, he's giving up. He gave up a lot of yards to A.J. Green. Now, I do got to remember a couple of things. So, one, A.J. Green is a top 5 receiver no matter what in the league. Sammy Watkins is very good, but he is hurt. He has some foot problems. He is saying that he's going to play with the pain. So that would be the equalizer to somebody that's lost a step in Revis and Sammy Watkins, who has, a height advantage, obviously. But what AJ Green was doing to burn Revis was using his speed and his hands, which one of the catches was actually incredible. It was like a shoestring catch that it wasn't really Revis' fault, but that was right there, like 50 yards, I think it was, or something like that when he did that. So if you look at the film and you see all the yards AJ Green had, Revis was beating a couple of plays with speed, and if Watkins is hurt, that's not going to happen. Also, though, if I see that Revis is starting to really slow down, then that means Todd Bowles is seeing it also. So he might have some schemes, I would think, to leave Revis there and then have some help. So if Watkins, waves his hands and say, hey, I'm open, he's going to have some safety help. I would imagine that the one-on-one play with Revis is gone. At least it's over for now until he shows that he could be back to Revis Island. But Watkins, though, I think it's more of like a trap. You see AJ Green do what he did to the Jets. You see all the yards that Andy Dalton saw and had. Tyrod Taylor's not that kind of quarterback. He's not going to throw 300 yards against the Jets. And I think Watkins is going to be contained, but not just Revis, but everybody else. So as long as you stop Watkins, who's Tyrod Taylor going to throw to? Robert Woods? That could be a little sleeper maybe, but Watkins is not going to be the guy.
Yeah, and the Bills don't have really any wide receiver help. They have nobody to really help Watkins. That's the other problem. He can't do it all himself. For my tight end sits, I have Dwayne Allen. That's the opposite of Siggy on this one. We finally got our opposite here. Kyle Rudolph and Martellus Bennett. And I'll actually talk about Dwayne Allen and why I feel he's going to be a sit. Denver's defense. Denver is just really tough on tight ends. Greg Olsen played a decent game against them this past week, but Denver's always been historically good against tight ends. They have really good coverage linebackers, especially Brandon Marshall. And you saw last week, Indianapolis did use Dwayne Allen, but they also used the other guy. I forgot his name. I'm sorry, guys. I apologize. But he was the one who scored 2 touchdowns against the Lions last week. I don't remember his name because I haven't heard of him until last week. But Dwayne Allen is a guy that Denver's going to focus on. You're not going to focus on the other dude. They're going to focus on Dwayne Allen, and they're going to take him out of the game as much as they can. He's another guy along with T.Y. Hilton, and who's going to be covered, obviously, by Aqib Talib and the other corners. It's their secondary and their linebacker core is really good coverage-wise, and Denver that's why they don't give up very many passing yards. And Dwayne Allen is just a guy, whether it be dump off or not. If you're in a PPR, maybe he'll get you points if you get dump offs, but we're talking standard scoring here, and in standard scoring, it's all about touchdowns and yards, and I don't see that happening for Dwayne Allen this week.
Don't worry, I got some opposites on tight ends also. I have Austin Seferian-Jenkins as a sit, and Gary Barnidge as a sit, and Jared Cook. Now I want to talk about Cook, though. Everybody thought, including us, but even all the pros, all the people picking fantasy-wise thought that Cook was beat out Rodgers for the tight end spot. But Cook disappeared in that game. I mean, I don't know if he just didn't get the playbook, if he hadn't memorized it or what, but if Cook was the guy you drafted over Rodgers, it does not look anytime soon that he's going to be the guy that Aaron Rodgers trusts to throw to him. So Cook is a sit for now, especially against Minnesota's defense anyways, but he might be a sit for 6 weeks. For my defenses to finish it off, I have Minnesota there's another difference from you actually. Houston and Cincinnati for the sits this week. And I'll talk about Minnesota. Aaron Rodgers. I feel like I know that Minnesota plays them tough, but Aaron Rodgers is just Aaron Rodgers. And with Jordy Nelson back and still have those offensive weapons and those 2 tight ends, yes, Minnesota can defend them, but they still, to me, even if they're at home, it's going to be difficult for them, especially with Green Bay's defense and Sean Hill. Sean Hill's going to have to be able to manage it. If Green Bay can force turnovers, they'll get the ball in the red zone area, they'll get the ball in their territory, and they'll be able to score. It's not like Tennessee, who has a hard time still with offense. Tennessee wasn't the best offense. Yeah, they had a great offense in preseason, that running game and everything, but they still have a young quarterback. They still had some young wide receivers, and it was still one of those things where where if Aaron Rodgers is given those opportunities, he'll be able to score. And I really love Minnesota's defense. Really love Green Bay's offense against that Minnesota defense this week. So you're saying Jacksonville's defense is better than Minnesota's defense?
Oh, they didn't stop Aaron Rodgers. They still scored.
I mean, they
scored 27 points.
Seemed pedestrian. 199 yards, 2 touchdowns. Yes. Now he got that 1 touchdown. Also, he got 3.
That's because they were running. They were running the ball.
He ran one in, but I don't think he run against Minnesota himself. But I don't know. I mean, I could see it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's a name that you don't want to sit, obviously, if you have Aaron Rodgers and that's your number 1 pick. I mean, obviously he was a top 10 pick for sure in fantasy. It's just I think Minnesota at home, if Jacksonville gave him fits, then I mean, he threw 34 attempts and only completed 20. So, and that was Jacksonville. I'm just saying, I don't necessarily know if it's defenses. I just think something's wrong with Rodgers right now. I'm starting to believe it now. His QB ratings, was good. Don't get me wrong. He had the 2 touchdowns. But, man, for some reason, Rodgers has just not been the same. I don't know what it is. I thought it was Nelson, but he has Nelson back. And, I mean, Nelson, was really not doing anything. He got the touchdown, yes, but that was, I think, the longest play he got. 8 yards, the longest play. He had 32 total.
Yeah, but it's a given. I mean, he's coming back from a knee injury. They're probably bringing him back really slow and everything. But still, Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. To me, I don't know. It's just me. I can see where you're coming from, where Minnesota does play Green Bay tough sometimes. But I think the second game coming, it was in Jacksonville, so it's a little tougher for Green Bay to play, on the road. And they did score 27 points against an improved Jacksonville defense. They're supposedly improved according to the media experts, and all those guys that get paid, the big bucks to analyze and stuff like that, teams. But still, against Minnesota's defense, who's no slouch. They are good, but it's a division rival. And I think just Aaron Rodgers just knows the defense. They know how they play. It's one of those things where they might put up some pretty good points against them. They're not going to get defensive touchdowns. In other words, Aaron Rodgers doesn't really make mistakes like that. So I don't see Minnesota getting 2 defensive touchdowns like they did last week against Mariota, who fumbled and also threw that interception. So that's the kind of things I'm talking about. Minnesota, if you take away those 2 points, how well were they doing? They were basically losing. So
yeah, but I mean, they did shut down Mariota as far as what you can do to him. I mean, that was pretty impressive, I thought.
Yeah, so we'll see, but I definitely like Minnesota's or don't like Minnesota's defense this week. More. Yeah, who you got for your sits?
All right, my sits for defense is Dallas, Tennessee, and the Giants. And obviously, we don't have to talk about the Giants. We're playing New Orleans. New Orleans is going to throw no matter what. But Dallas against Washington, that's going to be tough because Dallas actually played the Giants pretty tough, and they were at home. And they shut down Odell Beckham Jr., which was pretty impressive. Washington against Pittsburgh wasn't as good as I thought it would be. I mean, Kirk Cousins got his yards, but he didn't get the touchdowns. Everybody thought Reed was going to be getting a lot more than he got, and he didn't. I think, though, this game, division rival, it's in Washington. I believe it's at Washington, correct? I just think
that at Washington,
as well as Dallas' defense played against the Giants, I think Washington at home is going to do way better than what they did against Pittsburgh. And by saying that, Cousins throwing 300-plus yards means that Dallas is going to give up probably that many yards. And it also means that Garcon or Jackson or Reed is going to be getting touchdowns. It also means Matt Jones, I think, is going to be running all over Dallas because we did see that Jennings, even though they didn't use him much, he did get pretty good yards, I think 77 and 18 carries. Or 70-something, 18 carries. And also Vereen got like 38 or 40 yards. So, total they give up a lot. And that's just something that I think is going to happen. They're going to score early, and then they're going to run the ball, Matt Jones, at the end. And I think Dak Prescott, while Washington, though, does give up big plays in the air, he's going to rely on throwing it to, obviously we saw that Witten is going to be still a favorite among both quarterbacks if it was Romo or Prescott. And Des Bryant, he needs to try to get open. But I think, though, with Washington probably being ahead, it's going to be a shootout, just like how it was with Pittsburgh-Washington game. So I got a feeling that Dallas' defense is not something you want to play because I think it's going to be high scoring.
I actually think that Washington's going to blow them out. I see blowout written all over this. I don't know why, but I think that with Josh Norman being upset about not being able to shadow Antonio Brown the whole game, I think they're going to have him shadow Des Bryant the whole game. I think they're literally going to put him on Des Bryant, and he's going to cover him the whole game. They're going to have to deal with the other 2 wide receivers, and I don't know. I see Redskins able to run.
Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, they moved the
Beasley.
ball against the Steelers. It was just that they couldn't punch it in. They had some red zone difficulty, and they were just, they were just getting turnovers late. Like, it was just crazy. But with those offensive weapons that they have some serious weapons on Redskins. I just see a difficult time for that Dallas defense. So I don't know. For some reason I see blowout this week. I see Dallas getting blown out. Despite, some pretty good decent play from Dak Prescott last week.
He actually played very well. There was a lot of drop passes. The yards don't show it, but
yeah,
he played well. I mean, I think I saw enough in that one game where you start thinking to yourself, okay, if it was Romo in there, it might have been the same. At least, that's how I looked at it. But
yeah, I mean, he's still a rookie. He's still a rookie. He's gonna make mistakes, and he's gonna overthrow balls. He's gonna do things. I mean, people act like he's supposed to just complete every pass he throws and do and be this phenomenal quarterback. You got to remember, I mean, coming into the NFL game, it's different than college, and you're not gonna make every throw every time. You just got to learn from every play that you play, and be able to make your reads, study, and just sling it when you can. And he was doing it last week. He just unfortunately didn't come out on top. That's all. But he played decent. It was okay, but he'll improve. I just don't know if it's going to be this week.
Chance to win at the end. I have no idea what Williams was thinking, but
oh yeah, that was all Terrence Williams' fault. He could have tried to kick a long field goal, but instead he decided to go inbounds when there was 12 seconds left, and he caught the ball with 8 or 9 seconds left. Yeah. I don't know what he was thinking in his mind that they could line up in 5 seconds.
And Bailey hit a 54-yard that game, I think, too, right? So he had the leg.
Oh, Bailey has the leg. Bailey can kick from 67, 70 yards if they give him a chance to. But unfortunately, he never got the chance because Williams was selfish and stayed in bounds. So whatever, it is what it is.
If they would have won that game, then we would have probably looked at this game a little bit different, I would think. Because then everybody knew Prescott drove the game-winning drive. At least a lot of people would have thought that, but. We'll see. I mean, I think Dallas, I think their defense might be enough to contain Cousins, as far as, maybe he only throws 300 instead of 355. But you're right. They have so many weapons that it doesn't even have to rely on Cousins. It could be Matt Jones and all doing other damage. So, I think Dallas' defense is going to be tough, or is going to have a tough game. But I don't know necessarily about blowout, but I can see it, though. I mean, I just don't know if it will happen.
Yeah. All right, guys, thanks for watching week 2 of our Stardom Situm show. Don't forget to leave your comments in the comment section. Like I said before, I will try to get to the comments. So will Siggy. We'll do the best we can, but help each other out in the comment section and do your studying. Study up. Feel free to watch some other guys like the fantasy footballers. I see a lot of comments in there talking about the fantasy footballers. They're awesome. Let me just tell you, they are awesome to watch. They're very entertaining. I wish that I had a studio and Siggy lived here, that we could actually be together and do this. But Siggy lives in Texas. I live in New York. So it's a little hard for us to be able to get together, every day and do this with, professional camera work and studio and professional mics and all that stuff. But we do the best we can with what we have, and we try to give you the best content for what we can give. So like I said, leave the comments in the comment section. We'll get to them the best we can. Don't forget to join our DraftKings lobby. I will post it in the description. I will create it. Like I said, it's going to be 10 people lobby this time because we weren't able to make the quota last time. So it'll be a 10 people lobby this time. If that fills up, I will do another one, and you guys can join that one as well against us. So basically that means eight people, because if Siggy and I are joining, all you need is 8 more people each time. So it only costs $1, and you get to play against us and win some money. I think it's going to be the top 2 win. I'll put it at. So the top 2 players will win. If you want to do winners take all, let me know in the comment section. I'll do winner take all lobbies as well. You guys can join that. I can make as many lobbies as you guys will join. So it's all up to you guys. Don't forget to go to the website for the waivers and sleepers. That'll be up on Tuesday, which is today, which is the day you'll probably see this video, unless something crazy happens where it uploads all messed up. But it should upload fine. Right now my internet's great. So check the website for that, and check the website for the rankings and everything during the week as we put them up, and the DraftKings rankings as well, or the DraftKings players as well, players of the week to start. I'll probably have Siggy do that. I'm not sure when. If he doesn't do it, I'll do it. So either or, it's going to get done. All right, so for JT Magnum and Siggy Guns, we are out. Enjoy your fantasy football week, and take care, guys. Best of luck. Peace.